Hi friends, it's Barb Guinan from Cards by Barb on Facebook, and I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm here today to help you learn how to make a very simple card using Stampin' Up products. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know very quickly that if you don't already have a Stampin' Up catalog, either an annual catalog or a holiday catalog, all you have to do is let me know, and I will get one to you free of charge. If you're not local, I will send one in the mail. Not a problem. Okay, and the reason, first of all, even if you don't purchase anything, a good thing about having the catalog is you get all kinds of examples. Like if you say, okay, I want to make a card, but I don't know how to bring all the pieces together to make a card. So you can look throughout the catalog and you can see samples of card designs. For instance, here you've got one with the butterfly and some leaf images. You've got the mother and the child, or a young woman and a child, and then you have like a garden area. Now, maybe you don't have those exact stamps. That's okay. What you're looking at is mainly, okay, I see a card base, I see a card layer, I see a designer paper, I see another layer here in yellow, and a butterfly here. Now, you could take the same design and put a different color of cardstock for your base. You could use any kind of paper you like or have for your first layer here. You can use any image. Say you had a floral image or a boat image, or I don't know, a clown image. Well, you could put any image that you need up here and then put a sentiment right here, whatever sentiment you might have. And that's as easy as it gets. And so that's why if you're creating and you just get stumped, you know how to make a design, but you get stumped and you just have like a brain dump and you can't think of what to do and how to get started, just browse through your catalog and find things that look appealing to your eyes. There's so many examples in these catalogs, in both the Christmas catalog, or it's called the holiday catalog, and the annual catalog. See, I saw this Heart the Herald Angels Sing Christmas card, and I thought that was so pretty. I'm going to try to recreate the same card. I may even do it exactly as it seemed because I have everything that I need to do that. Or I may change it up and do something totally different. But you just browse through these catalogs and they will give you ideas. That's what they are, is they're ideas. They're just suggestions on how you can make a card using the products that they're showing. All right? Okay, so that's basically what I'm going to tell you about the catalog. Now, on the annual catalog, if you are interested in purchasing things, the part of the catalog that's going to be the most important to you is probably going to be starting on page 142, where we have a image of all the different colors of papers and inks and Stampin' markers that we have. So we have 4 collections: the brights, the neutrals, the regals, and the subtles, and then we have a basics, which is like black, vanilla, white, bronze, and ivory. And then we have an in color section. This changes every 2 years. For right now, it's 2020 to 2022, and that's Cinnamon Cider, Just Jade, Bumblebee, Magenta Madness, and Misty Moonlight. These 5 colors are from 2019 to 2021, so they'll end in June of 2021. And then a new set will come out, and this first set over here will now move over here, and we'll have the new set listed over here. Of course, we don't know what that's going to be yet because we won't see it until, well, customers won't see it until the new catalogs come out in June. And so if you are interested in having a catalog, please, please, please reach out to me. You can text me 304-839-6054. You can email me bguin53@comcast.net. That's basically my first initial, my last name, the year 53 at comcast.net. It's .net, not .com. And then as you browse through this section of the catalog, the back section, you'll have all the supplies and tools listed. Designer papers, rhinestones and jewels. You can use these for embellishments. Your basic tools. Some of these you need, and some of them are just you might or might not want to use. But a bone folder I feel like is real important. I use mine all the time to crease my envelopes. I suppose there's other things you can do with it. I just can't think of them right now. But even though if only it ever does is crease my envelopes, I love it. I use it. And then my favorite tool is this one right here, the Take Your Pick tool. It has a pointy edge, and you can take that off and turn it around. And you've got like a spatula edge on this end. And then on this end, you have a putty end. And this comes in really handy for picking up those jewels and putting them on your design, whatever you're designing. And you just use it as much as you can, and then whenever it gets down to the bottom, you just turn it and squeeze up some more of that putty. I call it putty. And it lasts for a long time. I haven't had to replace this putty end yet, and I've had mine for 6 months. Oh, I hope y'all could see that. I wasn't paying attention. I'm trying a new thing with my iPhone today. Last time I used it with my iPhone going this way, and the picture came out vertical on the video. So this time I'm trying to use it with my phone going this way. All I have to record with is my cell phone. So I apologize if if it doesn't turn out right. I'm doing the best I can here for now until I can get someone in to teach me how to use other things. I do have a vlogging camera. It just I don't know. I don't have a mount for it, for one thing, an overhead mount for it. And it tends to cut out on me after a while. But then our catalog, you go on and you see all the ribbons we have that coordinate with all of our colors, materials you need. Then it goes into all of our punches, and then it gets into all of our dies. And those are things we'll talk about more as we go on with future videos. But I'm not going to take the time to go through all of that today. Today we just want to start stamping. We want to make a card from beginning to end. This is going to be very simple. I'll show you the card we're going to make. It's right here. It's a balmy blue base, card base. Mine opens top to bottom. And then we have whisper white. We have another balmy blue layer. Then we have a wispy white layer. And then we have this glittery layer, which is called balmy blue glitter paper. This is featured in our holiday catalog that I showed you. So it won't be around after December 30th unless they decide. Sometimes they decide to keep things out of the mini catalogs, but it's not very often. And if it is, it only comes, there's only a few things that will come back, if any at all. Let me just say it that way. And then we have our image panel, which doesn't have to always be white. It could be other colors, but for the most part, I use white as my image layer. So this is the card we're making. It's a 5.5 this way by 4 1/4 this way. That's a standard A2 size card, and that is what I make most of the time. Once in a while, I'll do a 5x7 card. And now I'm seeing that slimline cards are very popular, so I may give that a try here. I don't know if I'll do that before Christmas or not. We'll see. There's so many things to do when it comes to stamping. All right, so let's get started on our card today. For our image, we're using this stamp set called Ornate Style. This is a cling mounted red rubber set, meaning that the stamps already have a foam base. This is red rubber is your stamping edge, then you have a foam base, and then back here you have the adhesive image that's the same image as your stamp. And if you put this, because you have to put this part on your stamp when you get your sets, and that's all explained in the previous video I did a few days ago. I think it's called I Have My Stamp Set, Now What Do I Do? Something like that. So this is the type of stamp we're going to use today. The other type of stamp sets that we have that are really fun to use, and actually my favorite, are the clear photopolymer stamp sets. And these, you can see I've used these. They're very well loved. The clear stamps come packaged on this clear insert. You don't have to do anything to get them ready to stamp, but you do have to stamp using a foam pad underneath you. So you can see they just pull right up. And for both sets of stamps, regardless, you're going to need a clear block. And you set your stamp down on it and then stamp away. Now this stamp is too big for this block, so you need to have an appropriate sized block. Stampin' Up sells the blocks. They're very good, they're very sturdy, and I like that they have this little ridge here all the way around, so that no matter which way you hold the block, you've got a place to put your fingers and get a good grip on the block. So this one is a C block. The ones I recommend that you get if you're just starting out and you don't have anything, this size D block, this would be a very good one to have. You can see it fits this image fine. It also fits the image we're working with today. And then the other size I would recommend would be to get a square cube, and this is good for little tiny images, and let's see. Yeah, there's some in here. This little snowflake fits on here very well. And the reason, you could put that stamp on this big block, but the problem is that if you're not really careful and you've got this on a big block, when you go to stamp it, your block's going to have a tendency to rock back and forth, and you don't want that rocking because you're going to get shadows in your image. So it's best to try to have a block that fits your image fairly well. And so these little blocks come in real handy for these small stamp sets or stamp images. But today we're going to use, out of Ornate Style, we're going to use this one flower here. We're keeping it very simple today just to help you get started. You put it on your block. All right, and so that's ready to go when we're ready to stamp. All right, now we need some paper. So we're going to cut a card to use today. Now, I'm using Balmy Blue. This is a whole packet. I order them by the packets. Every packet comes as one shade of color, or you can get some, in the catalog, I think there's some color groups that you can get where you might get 1 or 2 sheets of the color that's in that group. Say, for instance, it's the Brights group. You're going to get some real pretty colors like Gorgeous Grape, Pacific Point, Bermuda Bay, Granny Apple Green, Melon Mango, Poppy Parade. I can't think of the rest of them. But anyway, there's 10 colors in each color group. So we have 40 colors altogether plus the 10 in colors that you can choose from. So there's a wide variety of colors you can choose from. But this is an 8.5 by 11 stock of cardstock, and it is about, I think it's 80 pounds for each sheet. And then each packet that you buy is, it's either $8.75 or $9.75. I don't remember, but it's one of those two. But you get 2 cards from one sheet if you're making an A2 style card. Now I need to pull out some sheets here to show you how to make the card base. All right, I'm going to pull out 2 because I'm going to show you 2 different ways to make your card base. All right, the good thing about our trimmer is, first of all, it has an arm over here that you can pull out, and it extends, I don't know if I can show you. It extends out to 17 inches. So you could very easily do scrapbooking using this trimmer, because it will fit a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. Excuse me, my voice is a little rough today. But for the most purposes that I do stamping, I very seldom use that arm. There are a few occasions where I'll go out to 6.5, 7, or 8, but I don't usually go beyond 8.5 or 9 very often at all. Okay, so you flip this up, and in our card, we're going to have a score line, and then of course your cut. So I like to do, I've just recently learned this trick, because you know you're going to have a score line in your card if you're doing a card in this direction. You're going to, first of all, your card would be cut at 5.5. You're using the long side, so that's 11 inches. You're going to divide it in half, which would be 5.5 inches. And you put your paper in, and you make sure that it's all the way up to the top of this rim, all the way across. And it has a little ridge there, so it'll stop the paper. You don't have to jam it or force it. Just make sure it's up against that ridge. And then, so we're going to score right now. And the thing about this trimmer from Stampin' Up is you get a scoring blade, which is the light gray or brown, whatever color you want to call that. And then you get the cutting blade, which is the darker blade. Now, the scoring blade, I don't think has to ever be replaced. They don't even have replacements for it in the catalog. I just don't think it's necessary. And the cutting blade does, every once in a while you need to change it because it gets dull and it'll start making your paper ravel on the ends. So when you begin to see that happening, you need to just buy another refill pack, and it's real easy to change. You just bring it down here to the bottom, and there's a little notch. There's a little notch right there. You just take your blade up to that notch, lift it up a little bit so you can work with it, and you just kind of get in there and find that little notch, which of course I'm on film so it's not going to work. It's really not this hard, guys. It usually pops right out without any problem. I don't know what's going on with it. There, it popped out there and there. And you see you've got, oh, I'm not even showing y'all. I am so sorry. I've got to come up with a better way to do this. Anyway, you've got your cutting blade right there. All right, so to put it back in, you just find that little notch again, place it down in there, and you can see it went in a lot quicker than it came out that time. All right, but we want to just cut paper right now and score paper. So we're at 5.5, and I'm going to, well, I'll just go ahead and cut. And then you turn it around and you go to your halfway point again. Now we're on the 8.5 side. So half of 8.5 is 4.25. And this time we just want to score, so we want to make sure our cutting blade is out of the way. And you're going to just slide that scoring blade down. Now, if you're on a hard table, a hard surface, one time through is probably all you're going to need. But I'm working on a plastic fold-up table, which doesn't have the sturdiness. Plus, I'm got my stamping pad underneath me, so that's a little wobbly. So I just, to get that good score line, I just go back and forth a few times. It doesn't take but a second or two, so why not? Okay, let me remove the trimmer for a second. Then you've got a score line here. Right, there's your score line. And you're going to just fold at that score line. Now, I have a tool that helps me line these edges up, the outer edges up really, really well before I score. But I know that most of you are not going to want to buy everything in the beginning, so I'm going to do this the old way, which is to take it, make sure those ends meet. Because even though, for whatever reason, and I've had this happen on every cutting machine I've ever had, you cannot get those corners to match up perfectly. I'm just saying, they hardly ever do. I don't know if I've ever got them to match up perfectly on anything I've ever used before, even the guillotine cutters. But anyway, you line up these edges, make sure they meet, and then take your bone folder, and it just slipped. Take your bone folder and press that crease out, and then just, and there's a lot of different bone folders or bone folder types on the market today, but the reason I like Stampin' Up's is because it doesn't leave behind a sheen. Some of them will leave like a little sheen, a shiny area where it scores your paper. This one doesn't do that. You get a nice, clean, crisp fold, and you don't get any kind of sheen at all. So that's why I like the Stampin' Up bone folder. To me, it's a necessary tool. All right, so this is the card that we just cut, and it opens this way, or it opens horizontally this way. So your image would be out here. This would be a horizontal image, more than likely, and this would be a vertical image, more than likely. All right, I'm going to show you one other way to cut your card. Remember, you're getting 2 cards off of one sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. So make sure y'all are in the image. Okay, so for this one, you cut on the short side, the 8.5 side. Remember, on this one, we cut on the 11-inch side. We cut it this way and got 2 cards that fold this way and this way. But this one we're going to cut on the short side. So it's 8.5. Half of that would be 4.25. So we're going to, you put your paper in, you line it up to whatever area you want. Like we want 4.25 on this one, so we're just going to line it up with that 4.25 line. And you can see all the way down to the other end of your cutter, your trimmer. You've got the markings down here as well. So you can make sure, and there's a line that goes all the way from top to bottom, so you can make sure you're on that line the whole way. And what helps you to do that is this ridge here at the top. If you get your paper up against that without any gaps, you're going to get a nice clean cut all the way down. So now we're going to cut at 4.25 all the way down, and that's how you get the long fold, which we're going to score that. So this one you would score at 5.5 because this is the long side of the paper. The the 11-inch side. So we're going to score it 5.5. And like we did before, just go over it a couple of times for me. If you have a hard surface, you only have to do it probably once. And then fold it. And for me, whatever reason, this fold comes out a lot better than that other fold does. But regardless, now we've got a card that opens up and down. And this is what I'm using today to make our card. Okay, let me set these papers aside over here. All right, so we're ready to roll. All right, so we've cut out our base. This right here. That's the base. That's the card. All right, now we want to make our layers on the top of our card. I'm a person who likes lots of layers. If you don't like lots of layers, you can skip some of these. That's totally up to you. All right, so I'm going to cut another blue, and I'm going to cut it to 4 by 5. So as you can see, we're not done with our trimmer yet. And I'm going to pull, actually I'm going to use one of these that I just cut to make cards with. So we're not going to use it to make a card. All right, so this level, this layer is 4 by 5 inches. Okay, that's just making sure I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Okay, so we want 5 inches by 4 inches. And there's ways you can cut your layers to save paper, and I will go over some of those with you on another video. All right, so we have that layer, and now we want to cut the larger white layer. So we need some Whisper White cardstock. So we have Balmy Blue, that's the card base and the first layer. And then we have Whisper White. And this one comes with 40 sheets of paper when you buy it. And I believe it's a little bit cheaper than the colored cardstock. And I think that's just because it's white. The colored cardstock takes more products to make it. And I think that's why it's a little bit more expensive. But anyway, this is just our regular Whisper White. We also have Whisper White Thick. And I keep that to make, when I make my white cards, I use the Whisper White Thick because it's a little heavier than the regular Whisper White, and it's even heavier than the cardstocks are. So it makes a really nice, firm card that's not going to just flop all over the place. So that's our Whisper White Thick. All right, so that takes care of that. So let's cut these layers. We need a layer that is 3.5 by 5, and we need a white layer that is 2.5 by 3 3/4. So we're going to cut the larger one first at 3.5 by 5. I like for my cutting blade to be on my right side because I am right-handed. Okay, we're going to cut 3.5. I have y'all in the picture, yeah. So I'm at the 3.5 mark. I like to cut from the bottom to the top. That's just my preference. You can cut from the top to the bottom. It makes no difference. It's just the way it is. Some people like one thing and other people like something different. And now we need to cut this by 5 inches on this side. And you save all of your scraps because you can use these for other cards down the line. Don't throw your scraps away. Okay, so that's our large layer. And then we need a layer that is 2.5 by 3 3/4. Let's see if that piece will work. 2.5 we know is on there by 3, and it goes 3 3/4. Well, that's not going to work, so I'm going to have to just cut another one. So it was 3 3/4. I like to cut with the clean side on the to the left. So 3 3¾ by 2½. You know, if you were just at home making these cards, it wouldn't take nearly this long. When you're doing a video, it just seems to take a little bit longer. So we have the white layers cut now. And now we need the balmy blue layer, the glittery layer. This is the glitter. It comes in 12 by 12 sheets. You get 2 sheets in one package. But it's 12 by 12, so you're going to get a lot of cards out of that style or size of paper. And one of the things I like about Stampin' Up's glitter paper is the glitter doesn't come off. You're not going to have glitter flying everywhere. I don't know how they did it, but they did it, and it is wonderful. Okay, so for this layer, we need a piece that is 2 7/8 by 4. So I'm going to go with the 4 first. And then 2 7/8. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right there. 2 7/8. And that's our balmy blue area if I've cut everything correctly. All right. So now the fun begins. You've got all the work done. Now it's the fun time. All right. Now we're going to take our stamp. On a clear block, the stamp is clean. I'll talk to you about cleaning the stamps after we do this. Okay, so I am going to use, this is probably the one thing that you need right off the bat, because most of the time you'll be using outline stamps, which is what this is. It's an outline stamp. And then you'll be coloring in that image with a variety of different options that you will have. But one of the inks I think you should get in the very beginning and should always have a refill for, because you are going to use this quite often, is Memento Tuxedo Black. It's the only black ink that Stampin' Up sells, because you can use it to make any kind of a black image that you need. And you can use it for stamping your line stamps. And it will dry, and then you can use any color medium with it, which the most important one is the Stampin' Blends, which are alcohol markers. If you've been around the art world, you've probably seen Copic markers. There's a bunch of different alcohol markers out on the market now. I have Copics, and I was glad to see Stampin' Up come up with their own alcohol marker, and they're called Stampin' Blends, and they come in sets, and you'll get a light and a dark of each color you order. Let me just say real quick, one of the things I love most about Stampin' Up, and this is why I came back to do it again after having a long hiatus because of different issues going on, the thing that draws me to Stampin' Up is the fact that all of their products coordinate so well with one another. So you'll get, say for instance, you wanted this is Mango Melody. If you wanted the blends, you've got the blends. You have the ink pads, which you just open by putting your finger here between this little notch at the end, lifting it up and sliding it over, and then you just stamp with it. You can also use the stamp pads for coloring. You can get a little bit of that color down in the lid, and sometimes you can just take it right off the pad, and you can use, this is called a blender pen that Stampin' Up sells. And I'll just show you this real quick. you just pick up some of the color. Make sure your pen is clean. It doesn't look clean right now because I used it on a different color, but just scribble a little bit. Make sure that you got all the ink out of it from the last use, and then you can use, it's ready to go again. So you just dab it into the ink and color whatever it is you're wanting to color on your paper. So this is one of your coloring options. Now you can take the color off of the pad, but you really don't want to do that if you don't have to, because it's going to wear down the edges of your pad if you did that very often. Okay? So that's how the blender pen works. And then when you get through with that color, you just scribble the color off. You just scribble on a scratch piece of paper until no more color comes out. See, it's starting to get lighter. You want to make sure all the color is gone. Make sure you've got all the areas of that blender tip. And when you're using your blender pen, you don't push down very hard. You use it from the side and the tip, but you don't smash it into the paper, smush it into the paper. You just lightly color it. I must have got a lot of ink on this thing. Okay, now it's coming clean. Yeah, now it's clean and it's ready to go for the next color, whatever I choose to use it for. Okay, so I was talking about the coordination of products. So you have your Stampin' Blends, you have your ink pad that you can get a pool of the ink in, and you do that by squishing your pad really, really hard against the bottom, and it'll leave a little bit of ink on the bottom part of your stamping pad. And sometimes I like to just use a tiny drop of the refills. Always buy refills for your pads, because as you use your pads, you're going to use up the ink. And then all you have to do is take your refill and put some more on the pad. But the refills can be used for, like I said, you could put some in the lid there and just color straight from that. And it's used for a lot of techniques, a lot of fun techniques, which we're not going to go over today. But you can be sure and get a refill for every pad that you get. That's something that I think is important. And then you have the Stampin' Write markers. Now, the alcohol markers are more permanent in that they will last and not fade away. The Stampin' Write markers are just basic, what are they called? Dye ink. So they're not gonna blend as well, and but you can use them to color in any image that you might have. Now, here's the good thing about Stampin' Up writers. You can use them to color your stamps. For instance, if I wanted to color this stamp, instead of putting it onto my black Memento ink, stamping it and coloring it like we're going to do today, you could go ahead and just use your Stampin' Write markers, color in your stamp by just using the side of the pen. Okay, on this area we're going to do yellow. We're going to have a yellow flower. So we just color that in really well with the yellow. And then we'll have the green stem. I'm using the brush in. You have a brush in and you have a bullet in, or this in you can write with actually. I'll show you that. The Stampin' Blends have a brush end and a bullet end. And it's just your preference on what you want to use. I most of the time use the brush end. So I'm just going along the line of that stem, and then we're going to follow the lines of the leaf. Now you can leave that sitting on your stamp for a few minutes. It's not going to hurt it. But when you're ready to stamp, you need to just huff on it. and it reactivates the ink, and then you can, oh, stamp on here, then you can just stamp it down, and there's your image. All right, so that's without the black. All right, today we're going to use the black because I want to make sure you know how to use that. Now, the next thing I need to do real quick, because we need to use this card again with different colors, is I need to clean my stamp. We have a few options. This is a chamois. I cut it in half. It usually comes like this. And you just wet it, and it feels kind of spongy, but you just wet it and wring it out. And then I put it in a little clear case, and you just simply wipe your stamp with it. Now you see this is dark here. I used this yesterday when I was doing some black inking, and so it gets on the chamois when I went to clean it, but I did wash it out with a little bit of soap and some warm water, and I wrung it together and scrubbed it really well. But most of these colors you're not going to get out of the chamois, but as long as you clean it really good, then when you go to clean your stamps, you're not going to be mixing other colors onto the stamp you're trying to clean. So just clean your stamp, and when you're done stamping for the day, just take it to the sink, the chamois, take it to the sink and just rinse it out really, really good, squeeze it, and then it'll stay wet for a while. I don't usually have to wet mine, but every other day, if even then, it just depends on the humidity. Okay, there's one other way you can color, and again, this would use the ink pads or the ink refills. And instead of using your blender pen to pick up your ink, you use a water brush for watercoloring. This is to get that watercolor effect. All right, this is a piece of shimmery white cardstock, which is so pretty. And it's really good to, if you're doing an image you want to color, stamp on shimmery white and then color. It just really works well with coloring. Okay, so that's how you would use your water pen. And you get more of a watered, what do you call that, watercolor image when you're done painting. And then to clean it out, you just do basically the same thing you did with your blender pen. You just brush it onto paper, scrap piece of paper, until no color is coming out, and then it's clean and ready to go. You will notice that the tip is a little bit stained, but that's okay. It's still, let's see, where are you here? Will it focus? No, it won't focus that close. All right, anyway, there's a little bit of a stain there, but it's okay. It doesn't come out on the image that you're trying to color unless you haven't cleaned it up really well from the previous painting you did with it. So that's a watercolor pen. Okay, all you do is you unscrew it and fill it up with water. This is a new one, it's tight. That's right. These pens go the opposite. They unscrew the opposite way of most things. I don't know why that is, but you just take off the top, put some water down in there, and then put the top back on. All right, and then to get the ink down to the tip, especially if you haven't used your pen in a while, just squeeze the bulb right about here. Squeeze it and squeeze it until you start getting water. I do it on my hands and fingers. When I see a good amount of water coming out like that, that's too much. So I want to be careful, maybe get some of that water off before I start painting. But now you know your pen is ready to go. All right. And another thing is, just like with the blender pens, just color carefully. Don't smash real hard. Don't press real hard. You don't need to. All right, so that takes care of that. So that's pretty much your options for coloring. Your ink pads, your ink refills, your Stampin' Write markers, your Stampin' Blends, your watercoloring pen or your blender pen. That's quite a few options you have there. All right, now we need to get started. Okay, so we've got our 2.5 by 3 3/4 image layer, and we are going to use our Memento Black. I made sure it was inked up good yesterday, because when I was using it yesterday, it seemed like it was getting really light. But you just tap it on there. Don't tap hard, don't smoosh down, because if you smoosh down, you're going to get a lot of ink all around the edges, and then when you go to stamp, you're not going to get a clean image. So just stamp, like tap the rubber to the color, and then place it over the area where you think you want your image. And with the clear stamp, the clear blocks, you can get a really good idea of where you're stamping. And if you had clear stamps, you can see even better. But I can see that I'm fairly close to being centered here on this image, and that's what I want. So push down, push straight down, and then just hold it there for a couple of seconds. Let the ink soak into the paper, and then lift it up. And there's your image. All right? So we're all done with that. Quick, simple, and easy. So we use Memento Black ink so that we can color it. Alrighty. Now, what I do is I go ahead and get my image already, make sure everything is set and ready to go with the image before I start placing things. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to get it all done and then make a mistake and have to start all over from the very beginning. I'm trying to find what I did with the image. Oh, that's right. I want to put a sentiment on here. I'm not going to use the exact same one, or maybe I will. Okay, the sample card. With the sample card, I thought of you today. And I've thrown stuff all around here. I don't even know what I did with the sample card now. Okay, there it is. I used the sentiment I thought of you today, and that comes from this stamp set, Love of Leaves, which I just got in a couple of days ago. And it's the sentiment that was right there. All right, so this is a clear image that we're using, which is really, 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 really good when you're trying to stamp a sentiment, because you really want your sentiments to be as straight as you possibly can get them. And we're going to go ahead and stamp that in black as well. Tap, tap, tap. Don't smush. And I'm putting it at the bottom of the stem. You could put it here. You could put it down here. You could put it up here if you had room. You can put it anywhere you like it. Anywhere you like it. This is your card. When you make it, put it wherever you want. And have it say whatever you want it to say. Push it down. Let it sit for a second or two. Lift up. Straight down, straight up. No wiggling involved. Okay. So, I think we're ready to color. Now to color today, I'm going to use the Stampin' Write markers. Not the Stampin' Blends, I'm going to use the Stampin' Write. So I'm going to use the green first. Now I'm going to use the bullet end of this is Pear Pizzazz is what I'm using today. This is out of the Subtles group of colors. And you're going to just kind of follow that line down. And then I'm going to use the brush end to color the leaf. Now, you don't have to color the leaf solid. You can leave a little bit of white because it looks a little bit more natural that way. But if you want to color it solid, you certainly have the option to do that. And then on the flower, I'm going to again use the brush end, and I'm going to start close to the center. Let me see if I can get y'all closer here. I'm afraid to mess with this too much. I might lose y'all altogether. Okay. All right, so you see I've colored the green in there. Now I'm going to go in with my dark. This is Mango Melody. Yeah, Mango Melody. And I'm going to put the dark towards the inside center. Nothing fancy. And then I'm going to come in with, I believe this is, yeah, Daffodil Delight, which is, I believe this is out of the Brights selection. Okay, so you just color right in. Now, you see you've got some hash lines in there in that image. If you wanted to, you could go in and outline those with a darker color to kind of give your image some depth. Stampin' Up, anytime that you see these kind of lines in an image, they're basically showing you where you need shading. That's the part of the image that's going to be a little darker maybe than the other areas of the card. But you don't have to color them in with a darker shade. You can just color right over them with whatever shade you're wanting your image to be. So you can see this this image just takes a few seconds to color in. Easy peasy. And then for the center, you could use another color like a brown, a crumb cake or Sahara sand. Let me see if I've got that. Yeah, here's Sahara sand. This is one of our basics. It's from the basic collection. So we'll color the center in with that. All right, coloring's done. Your image is done. You can put your markers to the side. Now we're going to take, and on this card, I use dimensionals to set that layer up. I use the dimensionals between the white and the balmy blue on top, and then I use dimensionals between the balmy blue and the white on the bottom, and then I use dimensionals between the top layer of balmy blue and the card base. I'm all about layers, y'all. I'm all about dimension. What's going to make this card really pop for me. All right, so let's get to our pieces that we already cut. Oh, y'all, I'm telling you, making cards is not for the faint of heart. Not when you're doing a video, anyway. Now I can't find all my image layers that I already cut. Okay, is that even the right one? This is my image layer. Okay. So here we go with the dimensionals. I'm going to lift you back up again so you're not quite so close. All right. This is our pack of dimensionals. It comes with 3 sheets in a pack, and there is a total of 300 pieces. So 100 little dots. These are 1/4 inch each. So that's quite a few in one packet, and one packet costs $4. So we're going to take one off and set it there in that corner, and we're going to take another one and set it in that corner. And you can use as many or as little dimensionals as you like. I have a tendency to use more than most people because I want to make sure my card's not going to sag in the middle once it goes through the mail, but you don't have to. And then you just need to take off that release paper from the back of those dimensionals. You can do that by hand, or if you have a pick your tool, you can use the pointy end and you press it into your dimensional and lift up and out, up, down, up and out, down, up and out. And usually you can do that 4 to 5 times before you need to take those off to continue on. So that's the method I use when I have a ton of dimensionals on the back of a product. But when I have just a few, I just use my fingers. It's a little bit slower, but it's okay. And then the reason I like my grid paper to work with is because I can see if I'm straight or not. I just line my paper up on those grid lines, and then when I go to place this down, I can kind of get a feel for where that I'm even on both sides. I will tell y'all, I am not the best at getting my images and my layers straight. I don't press down on that adhesive though, or glue if I'm using glue even. I don't press down really hard until I know I've got it where I want it. And I can see right now I need to slide it over just a little bit to the left. It's a little bit harder to do on camera because you can't get right over it because the camera's right there. You can't put your head through there. All right, so that's on there pretty good. And now we're ready to put this on our white layer. So we're going to use some more dimensionals. Right here in each corner on the bottom. And then I'm going to go with 2 in the center, one up here and one down here, because that's a little bit larger image. Down and up, down and up. Let's see if we can get them all on one pick. Yep, we got them all. Yay. Makes it quick and easy. And again, line your layer up on some paper, grid paper. And then kind of look and see where you want to put your image. Now I wanted this layer, white layer, to be wider than the top layer is between the image and the blue on the top layer. I think that should be about right. I know that went over a little bit there. Yeah, I'm a little bit crooked at the bottom. Nothing new for me. I'll tell you, nothing new for me. I more than likely am going to get it a little bit crooked. Just kind of undo those bottom ones and slide it over. All right, so I think we're set with that. I can tell that I could have gone a little bit lower on the bottom, but I'm okay with that. That's working for me. All right, now we need our blue layer, which is right here. And again, you know the drill. We're going for the dimensionals. One on each corner. And then we're going to do 3 in the middle. Because this is longer, I'm going to go ahead and do an extra one on the sides. I'm starting to get too many on this one. All right, we got them all. And now we want to lay it on this layer, on our blue layer. Almost done, y'all. Almost done. That's not the right layer. Or I cut this card. I may not have used the right base. Let me see. Yeah, this is the wrong white. That's why that wasn't matching up. I picked up a different piece of white. I can still save the day if I can find a piece of white that we already cut out. All right, I'm gonna put this to the side for a minute. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut another white piece that's the right size. We needed that layer to be 3.5 by 5. This is what you do, people. You can always 3.5. You can always start over again completely if you want, or just start over with a new layer, since I can't find the other layer. And then this needs to be at 5. Now I know you see that image sitting there, but that's okay because it's going to be on the back of our cardstock, and no one's going to know that it's there except me and you, because there's 2 sides to every piece of paper, right? And that's still not right. What did I... 3.5 by 5. Oh, I wrote the wrong number in. Okay, this should be, instead of being 5, this should be 4 3/4. It looks like. Yeah. Or 5 3/4. 4 3/4. Good grief, Barbara. Get your act together. Is that gonna turn out right? Nope, I need another. Let's see. Let's go to 4.5. Okay, that works with that. Is it gonna work? What am I doing? Oh, it's the balmy blue piece that I need, not the... Okay, so it was the balmy blue piece that I didn't cut right. Okay, well, you know, when you're doing a video, I've heard so many people say in the past that when you do a video, things that go well when you're doing your original stamping just don't go all that well when you're on video. You have to start over, so we're going to start over. And this piece, okay, we want to be 4. We want this to be 4 by 5 1/4. I should get all these extra pieces out of the way. All right, now we should be ready for our image to go on to there it is. I had it laying upside down. Okay, we've got the dimensionals on there. Now we want to get this as centered as best we can. Yeah, this white piece that's what I was cutting that white piece for. Yep, that's why, because I was going to take it off of here. Okay, so we're going to lift this off. We're going to save this card. I'm telling you, people, we're going to save this card. We're making mistakes along the way, but at least you're learning from my mistakes, I hope. All right, I'm gonna put this away, try to salvage it later on another project. I'll take this piece off too because it has paper stuck to it. I'll just use some more dimensionals. Okay. 1, 2, 3, oops. You gotta make sure that they're not seen from the edge of they don't overlap the edge of the card is what I'm trying to say. My goodness, you know what? If y'all are still watching this, post the words balmy blue. Let me know you haven't skipped to Maloo. White, 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 white first. All right, and now we're ready to put the dimensionals on the back of this. And then this will go on our card. And we will be done other than putting something on the inside. All right, I'll take these off by hand this time just so that you can see I do occasionally do that. I just think that it takes longer. Once you learn the knack of using that pick tool to take these things off, doing it by hand seems to take so long. Okay. And now we're going to put this on our blue layer. It is right there. All right. And then we're going to, one more time. Now we could just go ahead and let me find my card base. We could glue this, and we might do that. Glue this to our card base since we have so many layers here. Or we could pop it up. I still think it looks better popped up. Since I have the dimensionals, I'm going to pop it up. You certainly don't have to do that. You could see that it would have gone on there. You still would notice that there was a layer there. I like to pop things up when I can. Bring out the pick tool. It's probably going to take forever for this to upload to my YouTube site. So I don't know if y'all will be seeing this tonight or tomorrow now. But anyway, we're ready to pop this up onto our base card. And you're not going to have much of a border. This is just cut down 1/4 of an inch from the base card. So that's going to leave you about 1/8 of an inch on each side. So there we are. We've got all of our nice layers. Layer 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you didn't want to put dimensionals on all the layers, you could very easily get along with putting this larger white panel down with just glue. But that's just up to you. If you have dimensionals and want to use them, then be my guest. I think it makes a nice looking card in the end. All right, very quickly, we will cut out a panel for the inside. I didn't plan one, but you can usually figure one out pretty easily. We have to have, now, we don't have to have, we could write directly on the inside if you wanted to, or you could stamp a sentiment on the inside. I thought of you today. don't see a stamp that I have handy that could work with that sentiment without making y'all wait even longer. Well, here's one. In Love of Leaves. We could use I'm So Glad You're in My Life. You could use that other one, Hope Everything Changes. It's just a little bit longer. Okay, we're looking for I'm So Glad You're in My Life right there in the middle. All of that. Let's see if it'll fit nicely on this block. Yep. So I like to turn it over and see if it looks kind of straight, and it looks kind of straight. So we can just stamp that. I think I'm going to try stamping that in the Balmy Blue ink pad. It's tone on tone look. I was thinking about doing it in black, and we very well could, but we may end up using the black, and you'll see why I'm saying that here in a minute. Okay, this is just to show you. I smashed it down too hard in my ink pad, so you see. Can you see? I've got straight ink all around the edges. Now the ink that's down in between the stamp here isn't too much of a problem usually, but that outside ink could actually get on your card when you go to stamp. So for a quick fix, what I do is use a baby wipe and just wipe all around the edges on the block. I think we're going to probably be okay. You know what? Let's just clean it off quickly and stamp it again. We'll just make sure that we don't have too much ink. Okay, we're going to stamp it down. Now we want to test and make sure that our sentiment is straight. So get a scrap piece of paper out, stamp down, stamp up. Okay, looks like I've got one side going up a little bit higher, so I just need to adjust for that when I stamp it onto my card. Also, make sure that you're stamping on the correct side of the inside of your card, because you don't want to accidentally stamp it over here. You want to make sure that when you open it, you see the sentiment. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, up. I'm so glad you're in my life. Now that's tone on tone. That's Balmy Blue stamped onto Balmy Blue paper. Not sure that I'm a fan of that, but what I wanted to show y'all anyway was I want to put a white layer in here. So I just pulled a scrap from my scrap bin to do this, so that we don't have to take time cutting, because you already know how to cut. I've shown you that. So before I glue this down onto my stamp, I want to make sure that I've got it correct. Now, if we use Balmy Blue now, we would see it very well. But I think I'm just going to stamp it in the black, because I kind of like that. The front of the card is black, so I think I'm going to do black. And we'll use the white baby wipe thing again. This is what I do for just cleaning in between. I either use a baby wipe or my chamois. So, okay, now we want to tap, tap, tap. Not smush, 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 but tap, tap, tap. Look at your stamp. Make sure that it looks like it's got ink where you want the ink to be. And this one looks a little frail towards the bottom right end. So now that looks good. Okay, so we're going to try to center this. Looking over and around my camera. It came out pretty good. And then I will show you, I like to do a little decoration on the inside of my cards sometime. So we're going to go back to our first image with the flower, and we're going to use our markers and do that trick of, did I clean that? It doesn't look clean. Yeah, I hadn't cleaned it. Why didn't y'all tell me? Y'all should have told me I hadn't cleaned it. All right. Try to get some of that excess water off of the stamp. Okay. Pair of pizzazz on the leaf and the stem. Not much of it's going to be seen, but it'll be there. And we're just going to color in a circle here like this. And then we're going to use the Mango Melody. That was the Mango Melody. This is the Daffodil. Just go around the edges quickly. Doesn't have to be precise and perfect this time. And we're just going to take it and stamp. I'm not going to stamp the whole thing. I'm just going to stamp a little bit of it, just to give it a little bit of something down there. You see? So I just love it. I love it whenever you can do a repeat of the image. All right, for this, to lay this down, we're going to use liquid glue. I really, really love using liquid glue rather than the stamp runners, which I'll show you in a minute. Liquid glue, let's make sure that the tip hasn't froze up on us. Get all the little buoys out of it. And then that's too much on the edge. Try to get some of that down. If you get too much on the edge, it's going to all squeeze out. You'll see it squeeze out onto your card base. In this case, your card base. All right, and because I still think that's too much ink up there, I'm just going to take a scrap of paper and kind of rub some of that off of there and then throw that away. All right, now we should be fine. Okay, and then again, try to center that. And that's what I mean about wiggle room. Okay, I think I've got that fairly even now. And there's the inside of our card, all ready to go. That's your card. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching. And if you stayed with me to the end, please comment Balmy Blue. I want to know that you didn't give up on me, and I really appreciate that. Remember, if you would like a catalog, either an annual or a Christmas or both, please let me know, and I'll get one to you soon. I have a few here at the house. I have more on order, and I can always order more if I need them. Alrighty, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. That would make me oh so happy. And if I see that you're doing that, then I'll know that you're watching my videos, and I will make more. And hopefully I get better, as this is only the second one I've made. And hopefully I can learn how to get my system better too. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys. I love y'all so much for taking the time to be with me during this video. All right, y'all go out and have a great day. See you next time. Bye.